China has hit back at comments by the Philippine Defense Secretary, stressing that Beijing has a full historical and legal basis to uphold territorial sovereignty in the South China Sea. The Chinese embassy in Singapore reiterated that Beijing has been exercising a high degree of restraint in the disputed waterway. The reaction came as tensions played out during the final day of the Shangri-La Dialogue. CNA's Olivia Xiong was there.
The rivalry between China and the U.S. has been in key focus at the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. But speaking at a plenary session on the third and final day of the Security Summit, Philippines Defense Secretary Gilberto Teodoro said while the China-U.S. strategic competition increasingly defines the regional and global security environment, it should not be overemphasized.
The Philippine position on the West Philippine Sea is not a function of Sino-American strategic rivalry. Instead, it is caused, no doubt, by the overreach of the Chinese Communist Party, of which the most glaring evidence is the 9, 10, or 11 dash line that has absolutely no basis in international law.
Manila has accused Beijing of aggressive behavior in the disputed South China Sea and building artificial islands in the disputed waters. China, on the other hand, has been angered by joint military drills between the U.S. and the Philippines, as well as the deployment of American military systems in the country. Secretary Teodoro's comments drawing a response from Chinese delegates in the room.
Recently, the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the Russian-Ukraine war is a proxy war between nuclear powers and needs to be ended. And meanwhile, the United States is selling more arms to this region and setting up more military bases in the Philippines. So, if the proxy war in Europe needs to be ended, are you concerned that a proxy war in Asia might be launched?
Both Vietnam and Malaysia have differences with China in South China Sea. Yet, both countries have effectively managed these differences with China. So my question is, why can't the Philippines do the same?
The comparison between the Philippines, Malaysia, and Vietnam. Let us not forget that while we are members of ASEAN, we are sovereign countries, each with its own territorial integrity and sovereignty. And I am sure that if what China is doing to the Philippines is done to Malaysia or to any ASEAN country, you would see a different reaction. I hope I have answered the propaganda to the satisfaction of everyone in this room.
The Chinese delegation later told CNA that it was unsatisfied with the defense secretary's reply.
首先，他实际上没有认真回答这个问题，他说我是敷衍的，他说我们是宣传口号，难道说那个马来西亚的总理安瓦尔，人家给他提的问题是敷衍的吗？人家是一种宣传吗？人家是要求他去跟中国要去对话，是吧？
The heated exchange comes as China's Defense Minister Dong Jun was absent from this year's Security Summit. The lower-level delegation from the military's National Defense University instead led by its Vice President, Rear Admiral Hu Gangfeng. Unlike previous years, there was no plenary session helmed by the Chinese defense minister this time round. These sessions typically reserved for those at the minister level and above. Instead, this time, the head of the Chinese delegation spoke at a smaller session on maritime security. What was also different was the lack of press briefings by the Chinese delegation compared to last year. Those in the past had been called by the Chinese to rebut criticism of it and to lay out the Chinese position on security issues. The Chinese delegation has said that this was a normal working arrangement, which will not affect it from expressing its views on security issues. Speaking at another session, Singapore's Defence Minister Chan Chun Sing said that it was incumbent on other countries to reach out to China to build bridges to avoid misinterpreting each other's position. Olivia Siong, CNA, Singapore.